And so another book that I worked on that had similar results is your classic first novel. I talked to the author and I said, you know, what do you want to get out of publicizing this book? And she said, well, obviously a front page review in the New York Times. And I was like, well, I have news for you, that's not going to happen. Because, you know, the New York Times reviews about 12 books a month, and they have a 6-month backlog. And I said, frankly, you are not really influential. And finally, I haven't read the New York Times in like 5 years, and I live here. You know, I was like, it just doesn't matter to me. It might matter to you, and I respect that, but that's not what you really pay me for. And so I suggested to her that we do a very targeted online campaign. I said, you know, you're a young author, you're coming out, there's 1 million debut novels this season. Everyone wants to get the story that they're the hot debut novelist, but frankly, I just feel like there's not enough currency there and there's not enough leverage. I was like, why don't we use the fact that you're a young novelist as a case to sort of take directly to bloggers, to say, you know, you started a blog because you felt like there wasn't a very invigorating literary conversation, and that a lot of the literary fiction that you read about was not very exciting, or it was more about the marketing budget, but, you know, here's the kind of author that probably made you think that it was worth writing about books in your free time. And a lot of people really responded to that message. Like, a lot of people were very interested in reading her book, and they sort of instantly compared her to the kind of authors that she would like to be compared to, as writing this kind of noirish, sort of feminine American pop culture tinged fiction. And it actually did very well, and I knew that it was working about the 3rd week of the campaign, when every paper in New York but the Times reviewed it in the same weekend. And that's when I realized that book editors have nothing to do but read blogs all day. Because they're losing their readership. You know, I mean, one of the really dramatic things that, you know, you hear if you talk to a lot of media executives in the States, or you are familiar with sort of media culture, is that, I mean, some of these publications are losing like 20% of their readership a year, and it's not coming back. And they're desperate to connect with younger readers, and they are desperate to build their online presence, and they're desperate to build their ad revenue online, and so they need readers and the online website of the paper and the publication, the magazine, and whatever. And so one of the things that editors do is they say, who is talking about you know, what authors on which blogs, and, you know, what do I need to do to capture the sort of imagination of the young reader today, or the kind of trendy reader, or whatever. And so people really resonated with this idea that she was very buzzed about. And it was holiday season, and like every party she went to, people were like, oh, I had no idea you had the big book this year. And she was like, I didn't, you know, because that idea that you can craft perception is alive and well online, that you can sort of say, someone has to see something 10 times maybe before they buy it. So my idea is always that I want people to go out to a bar on Friday night and feel like if they haven't read the book that I'm working on, they're going to be embarrassed. And they shouldn't know that, but they should think it. And they should, you know, be wondering what what books their friends are reading. And so it's that kind of idea that, you know, you can look at online culture and you can sort of read blogs and find 1 or 2 that you like, and they'll link to other ones. And there's sort of this clearly identifiable world of larger voices and smaller voices that I think parallels traditional media in very similar ways. And you can kind of craft a strategy that can be very compelling to people, that certain things are inescapable, you know, and of course they're really not. Nothing is. And that was actually quite successful, because the New York Times did review it, and it called the book An Emotionally Sophisticated Building Sermon for Two. And I was like, there you go, now you have the quote for the paperback, like, we're done. And it was quite effective, because she achieved her goals, and we did it in a very sort of savvy way, which is to say that we made the book worth talking about. And I think that one of the things that everyone who works with books has to think about all the time is this idea of not just selling the product, but selling the idea of reading as a pleasurable activity and an escape from like an increasingly, you know, sort of data-centric world where like everyone is kind of fighting this sort of constant feedback and communication, and that a book can be a way to sort of take a break from that.